Hey, this is Tara Pritchett, Confidence Coach for Women, and welcome to surprise, because I did not announce that I was going to be teaching this class tonight, but I actually came up with it days ago, right? And it was inspired by a man, more so inspired by a boy, which is one of my students. For anybody, if this is your very first time and you're joining me, I am Tara Pritchett, and I am a confidence coach for women. I absolutely love working with single professional women who seem and appear to be blessed on the outside, but deep down inside, they feel like there are areas within themselves that are a hot mess and they need to get together, get that part of themselves together, right? And I help them heal, evolve, and grow so that they can move into their next level of success, life, and of love, right? So today, especially because of the month we're in, let me see, I got my red on for you. We are going to be talking about women as in investing in yourself, right? And I'm not talking about investing in like necessarily buying something, right? But I know you see the title of the video, right? Which is 6 reasons why a man will not invest the time, money, energy, and commitment into you unless you have first invested into yourself, right? A lot of times we want to focus on him, what he's doing, what he's not doing, and all that. But the most important part that you need to remember on this journey is, what are you investing and depositing all up in here? Because that is the most important part. If you haven't already signed up for my free 5-day position to be found challenge, then I encourage you to go to bit.ly, and I encourage you bit.ly/love unleashed to sign up so that you can join us as we go on this journey of going deeper within ourselves, so that we can open ourselves up, right, to the love that we really deeply desire and deeply deserve, right? So as I started out before, the reason about how I came up with the topic for this particular video is based on the fact that I have 2 black male students, and we have conversations all the time just because we're so close. So I believe it was last week we had a conversation after school one day. They run track. They stopped by my classroom. So I'm also a teacher as well. So they stopped by my classroom because they all know, I'm a confidence coach and all that. So now all the boys are like, well, when are you going to do something for boys, right? And I'm like, I'm not a man. But they stopped by after school because they wanted to talk. So I said, okay, let's talk, right? So one of the things that comes up often with them is sometimes people kind of them because they really absolutely love interracial relationships, right? And, obviously some people have an issue with that. So I started having conversations with them about, just about the whole interracial dating thing. Why is it that you're, attracted to this? Is there something you like over the other? Is there something about black women that kind of turns you off? Like, I was just curious to know from my own personal, understanding and standpoint, or even to come back and share with you, because I wanted to know, right? And I usually don't get to have those type of honest conversations. And because they're younger, they're 18, right? So I know they're younger, but how many men do we know that's 37 acting 18, right? Age ain't nothing but a number. So then I started kind of going through the history of black women in America. And they were like, wait, slavery? They got raped? They got that? They were like, what? They were like, oh my God, that explains a lot, because one of them proceeded to go in on why he just cannot date a black girl. He's dated one, and why he cannot date a black girl at this particular point in his little life. And he was like, I've tried it already. And basically what it boiled down to was he's equating whatever is going on in his mind, that dating a black woman to him, based on the one or like 2 little black girls he dated, was that it cost him too much. And I'm not talking about financially, but I said, can you explain it to me? And I kept saying, can you give me examples of what you mean by that? Because I said, I just don't understand. So he said, let me think about it, and then I'm going to get back to you. I said, okay, think about it. So then thought about it. And then he came back to me. He said, dating a black woman, he said, it's an investment. And I said, tell me more. So he said, it's like an investment. And I was like, oh my God, like that is so offensive on so many levels. And I'm like, tell me more about what you mean by that. And he was like, you just have to put in a lot of time. Like he said that, like, if I date a black, like, she wants to be serious. She wants to be serious. She wants to communicate. She wants me to, text her back and let her know what's going on. And So I was like, so basically she's being a human and being normal and she wants to connect with you and communicate with you and make sure you're okay and y'all are on the same page. So he said, yeah, but when I date white girls, it's not the same, right? I'm more free flowing. I don't have that level of commitment. I don't have to make that level of investment. Now, mind you, he did go on to say, okay, I'm about to go to college, so I also don't want anything serious, but I think that I am going to end up marrying a black girl one day because that just makes sense for me, right? So long story short, from that conversation, I'm like, okay, he's clearly doing the most. But from that, I also schooled him on the history of black women in America and as to why you might think that they're an investment and why they might seem strong-willed or why they might seem more assertive or do certain behaviors that you don't necessarily see in a white girl, right? So we kind of went through from a historical lens. Mine was blown. He's like, I never even knew, you know, that black women were raped during slavery or that their kids were torn away or that the black family was torn. Like, he was like, I have no conceptual knowledge of any of this stuff. But he was like, now that you're starting to bring it to my attention, it makes a whole lot more sense now. He started having that aha. And he started putting the pieces of the puzzles together. And then he comes to me the next day, him and the other boy, and he was like, you know what? Like, that was actually like a really good conversation, right? Because they're so used to seeing me in class talking about Shakespeare or whatever the case may be. He was like, that actually like changed my life. And I'm like, yeah, that's going to cost you, right? So anyway, long story short, from that conversation, it made me start thinking about you and me, right? And the work that we do with Unleash Your Fierce and kind of becoming these confident and fierce women. But he's only 18. Right? But how many other men out there have a similar mentality? And I'm not just talking about the black and white thing. I'm not just talking about the whole race piece of it all, but just how many people have this mentality? How many guys have this mentality of, you know, not committing, not following through, not showing up, not doing X, Y, and Z? Or how many of us as women attract stuff to us that we don't want? In terms of the men, we attract to us men who don't want to commit because they think that we're an investment and they don't want to invest in us. That is a problem. So that's what brought me, I say all that to say that's what brought me to our topic for today, right? Which is all about, you know, in order for a man to want to invest the time, money, energy, and commitment for a lifetime, forever, right? To lead to the marriage that you desire, you know, what are those 6 things that you need to have in place, right? Because like attracts like. So if you invest in you, you're going to obviously attract to you a man that wants to invest in you. So clearly you don't want to fool my student because he ain't trying to invest. He like, oh, I'll do that in 10 years, right? Which is not necessarily uncommon in our culture and also in our community and really in our society. That's kind of the norm for boys, unfortunately. But girls, we get the different message. We do need to find somebody and we need to settle down and all that kind of stuff. So we get a whole different message than I feel like maybe boys are getting in our society, right? Not even maybe, but definitely. What boys are getting is completely different from what our girls are getting. So that's why it's also important that we have these type of conversations with our younger girls, middle school, high school, college. Because with that kind of stuff floating around, girl, that's crazy. So I now want to get into the 6 reasons why a man may not have, or you may not be attracting the men to you who invest in you in the way that you want. And when I say a man to invest in you, I mean they love you, they cherish you, they admire you, they want to marry you, right? They're being honest, they're being loyal, they're being romantic, they're being genuine, they're being masculine, right? They're being leaders, they're producers, they don't mind professing their love to you, they're providers. That's what I mean by men that invests back into you. Okay? So, because that's important, and I will say that on my end, right, and I'm not married just yet, however, I will tell you that every man that I have ever seriously been in a relationship with, either that was from 4 years, 5 years, whatever the case may be, I always attract to myself all the things that I just mentioned. Always attract to myself men that all the things that I mentioned, the loyal and all that. I only had one who did not fit that, right? And that was my wake-up call to say, hold up, I must be going in the wrong direction. Only had one, right? But besides that, every man, and this is from high school to present day, I have always attracted and dated men who wanted to be with me long term or who have wanted to marry me. Even in high school, I got a ring in high school, girl. Yes. and I know other people might, but I got one in high school. My boyfriend in high school, he wanted to get married. He wanted to start a family. And I was like, hold up, partner. Hold up. You moving kind of quick. Because that's just who he was. And ever since him, I always attract the same, I don't attract people who don't want to put in the time, energy, and all that. And if so, right, it's very easy for me to kind of be like, okay, nope. Or at least I don't commit to them in a long-term relationship on my end, right? So one thing I know for sure is how to invest in yourself to the level where you attract higher quality men, or you attract men who want to marry you, or you attract men who are in alignment with you for the season that you are in, right? And the reason why I haven't married any of those men is because my number one priority is being in alignment with my destiny and being in alignment with God, right? So when I go to ask God, even though they are this amazing whatever, I haven't heard yet, okay, that's it. Right? I haven't got the go yet, right? So that's why I say no. When they're like, will you marry me? In my last relationship, I would get asked every single month. So are you ready? Right? So I guess I have the opposite issue from others, where it's like I'm struggle to get commitment and loyalty and the genuine, the camera and all that kind of stuff. I have the opposite. I always get that. Right, that's what I attract to myself, but that's also because of the things that I invest into myself. I'm able to attract that to myself, and then I'm able to give that over to my clients so that they're able to then attract what they need at a higher level for themselves, right? So let's get into the 6 things, right? Reasons that you need to invest in yourself, right? And I'm using the word invest, I.N.V.E.S.T, in order to help us navigate this, right? And I want you to think about where out of those 6 may you need to invest in yourself more so that you vibrate at a higher level to attract somebody else who wants to invest in you, and not like my student who's talking about, oh, that's an investment. I don't want that, because we damn sure don't want him. When I be like, like I saw him today and he just starts laughing like, I'm like, yeah, you a little suspect, okay? So here's the I in invest, right, that you need to consider in terms of attracting the right guys to you who want to give you the time, the money, the energy, the commitment, and the whole shebang. And the first thing is focusing on you being inner rich, right? So the first thing is you focusing on you being inner rich as a woman, right? So often I think we focus on like having money on the outside of ourselves and having this amazing life on the outside. But the only way to get to the stuff on the outside is to ensure you're doing all the ish on the inside that would allow you to glow and to radiate and magnetize someone or something on the outside. So I need you to start asking yourself, have I invested enough time in myself that I am inner rich? Which means that you're at peace. You feel happiness, you have bliss, you feel joy, right? And pleasure and excitement, and you feel juicy and amazing. That's being inner rich, because when you're inner rich, guess what? That overflows. So when you walk in a room, that's when you get the glow. That's when you have that magnetism that's coming from the inside out and you're able to radiate, right? So I need you to start thinking about, am I inner rich? Because guess what? You want to attract a man that's inner rich. So when you see him, you can not only see him, but you can feel the presence of God through him because he's inner rich, right? Does that make sense? Okay. So the next thing, right, in terms of investing in yourself and why a man may not choose to invest in you is because you may act as if you don't really need him. This is the end. Acting like you don't really need him. Because so often as women, we're taught that we can't be needy, right? And if we are being needy as a woman, we're taught that that is bad and that's wrong. Now, here's the thing. There is a difference between being needy and needing a man. And I think a lot of us, just because of insecurities and being vulnerable and things like that, we kind of fall into a space of, being needy because we don't want to be rejected. We don't want to be abandoned. We don't want to be alone. And most importantly, we don't want to feel uncertain about our love life and our relationship, right? So that's why, like, a lot of us, it's easier for us to be so into our jobs and into work because we know what our boss is like. We know what the people are like. You know what I mean? Like, we know our job. Boom, boom, boom. We're certain. And even if you don't like it, you can always quit and go get it. Like, you know what I mean? It's not as difficult. Make you a resume, goes on the interview, boom, new job. But a relationship doesn't work that way. It gets messy. There's emotions. There's feelings. You know, there's some gray areas there, and there's some uncertainty there that doesn't always get filled in the mix. So that's where our whole, you know, I'm needy. I need to cling. I need to call. He got to text me every second, or let me look through his phone. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. Okay. I learned my lesson in high school. Please don't do that. Okay. Right. So there's a difference between being needy and needing a man. But sometimes men don't want to commit because they don't feel as though you need them. Because if you're already strong and powerful and fierce and all that, then what do you need him for? Right. So that's something that some of us need to work on. Because a lot of us, especially if you're a Black woman, we're raised to be like strong Black independent woman. I went to a seminar once at my alma mater, and we went to a workshop with a speaker, and he stood in front of the room of about 200 Black males and females, and he said to us, raise your hand if your mother taught you to be, you know, a strong independent woman. And literally, like the whole freaking room, all the women in the room raised their hands, but it wasn't necessarily true on the opposite end with the men. So he kind of talked about, you know, again, back to that historical stuff from slavery all the way up to now, how the role and with gender, things have kind of shifted, right? But what's more important is not necessarily gender, but it's really you learning how to be in your feminine power so that you allow a man to be in that masculine power. But here's the thing. Have you invested enough time, money, and energy in yourself that you have cultivated that feminine power so that you know how to use your feminine power when you're in your relationship? But then you also know how to use, because we have a balance of both masculine and feminine, because you need both. You need your masculine stuff to get shit done at work. But then you need your feminine stuff to be able to lean back and receive from a man. All right. So you need a balance of both. But have you invested enough in yourself that you're at a space and place where you do need him to help out around the house, right? So if a man, you know, if you see a guy and you're carrying a big case of water, he says, can I help you? Are you open to receive? Are you receptive? Right? Are you going to say, yes, go ahead and help me? Or are you kind of like, no, I got it, right? I had that opportunity this morning. I got to work and I was on a program and I had a big old case of 40 different juices and it was heavy as heck. And where my room is versus where I park is so far. Plus I had to sign in, drop off my lunch, get to my room. So I saw a male colleague and he said, hey, is that heavy? And I was like, you know what? Yes. If this was a couple years ago, I would have been like, no, I'm good. I got it. Because I don't want to talk to him. I don't want him carrying my stuff, right? So instead, I just said yes. But then I said, not only do I need to sign in, I said, I need to put in an announcement. I need you to take it to me. He was like, sis, I got you. Like, you don't need to explain anything. I will wait for you. I will carry it, right? So I think so often we kind of jump because we're just so used to control. I know, at least for me, controlling, doing everything. Then when somebody's like, okay, hold up, let me help you out. You can take a chill, right? So again, focusing on, you know, needing a man, right, versus being needy. And even in the space and place where you're waiting, and you're in a place where you're waiting for your husband to arrive, right? Or even if you are in a relationship, right, and you haven't necessarily, someone hasn't proposed to you yet, the needing part is still a part of that. Right? It's still a part of that, right? But you, again, don't want to be needy, right? You want to focus on needing a man, and don't let anyone make you feel weird because you feel as though not only do you want a husband, but you need a husband, right? Because guess what? God did make man and woman, right, to come together to do certain things, right? There are benefits. I'm not going to say some to being married, just like there are benefits to being single as well. But it's okay. It's giving yourself permission. I give myself permission to want a husband. I give myself permission to need a man for X, Y, and Z. But you do need to focus on the why. Why do you need a man? Why do you want a man, right? And it shouldn't be, to make me happy. That's where we get into the other area of being needy. If you think, because the purpose of a relationship is not to make you happy. The purpose of a relationship is to reveal all the other shit, right? It's a mirror to you. So, and married people tell me this day in and day out. So when you marry somebody, all of the ish that's going on here that you have not checked is going to start rising up, right? It may not all rise up at once, but it's going to start rising up. And the same is true for that other person. It's going to start rising up. So if you want a great form of personal growth and development, you want a great coach, your husband's going to be your greatest coach that's out here in the world, because he's always going to be mirroring back to you. And that's in any relationship, mirroring back to you your good, your bad, your ugly, your worthiness, your wounds, what you need to work on, will be reflecting that back to you, right? So if you're saying I want to get married, what you're really saying is I need to be in a partnership that is going to allow me to continue to grow into the fullest, highest expression of myself. Not I need to be in a partnership because I don't want to be lonely, or because I don't want to be abandoned, or because I don't want to be the only single one. Because guess what? That's not going to work. I'm just going to be blunt. I'm just going to be honest. That's not going to work. And you can ask any married person that question, right? And I'm sure they will give you some variation of what I said, right? Because marriage is work, right? And that doesn't mean that marriage has to be super hard all the time or at all, but there definitely is a level of work. And I think a lot of us, we look to the glamour of it, of the relationship, right? Of the relationship goals. I'm gonna post this, or we got the family photos when it's Christmas time, or it's Valentine's Day and I got a Valentine. We look to those moments, which are amazing, but those are also in many ways like the icing on the cake, right? The real work happens day in and day out, where you're sitting and you're looking at another person. That's a whole different ball game, right? Than just what we see people posting online, or even when we're out and we see a couple together. There's work that has gone into that, right? So again, when we're saying I need a man, think about what comes along with that beyond just all the fun, loving, and all that kind of stuff, right? So hopefully that makes sense, right? So again, we are talking about 6 reasons why a man may not be investing in the time, money, commitment, and energy into you. Right. And again, I got this from a student. Right, who told me that he doesn't want to date Black women right now because they are an investment, right? So to him, we say, you can go sit down by, right? But what we are focusing in on, because I see somebody has joined us, but what we are focusing in on is how you can invest in yourself so that you can attract the man who also has invested in himself but wants to invest back in you. Not somebody like my student who doesn't want to take the time, money, energy, or commitment to really be with somebody in the fullness, right? And that's actually a weakness coming from the man's side. That's a weakness. But sometimes we attract that to us because it is safe. Right? And I'm getting off my 6, but this is an important message. Sometimes we get off track and we date somebody like that because he's safe. He's not going to require us to do the S in my 6, which I'll get to. So I'm using the acronym I.N.V.E.S.T, right? And those are our 6 reasons, right? So the first one is why he may not be wanting to invest in you is because you're not inner rich just yet, right? You're not inner rich, right? You haven't done the work you need on the inside so that you're rich enough on the inside that you're overflowing and radiant and magnetic on the outside. Then we got to the end, which is about being needy versus needing a man, because a man wants to feel needed. He wants to provide for you. A good man, the man that's going to invest in you, he wants to provide for you. Obviously, if he's investing the time, the money, the energy, and all those years and time, he wants to provide. He wants to profess his love to you. He wants to protect you. He wants to do these things for you. So you got to show him you need him, right? Not be needy, but show him, baby, I need you. And here's why I need you, right? But again, so often we're afraid to do that because the whole needy part usually gets in the way, or that's what people are just so used to, right? So then we're going to get into the V out of invest, and that is valuing yourself, right? So the V is valuing yourself, right? And that means you have standards, right? You have standards and you have boundaries, right? And you follow them, right? So a man is going to do what you allow him to do. I feel like me and my cousin say this like all the time. Like when we see crazy stuff happen in people's relationships, or we see something online, we be like, okay. But it goes back to, again, a man will only do what you allow him to do, right? And based on how much you value you and all of this, right, is going to determine what he feel as though he can and cannot do, right? What you tolerate is what he's going to end up doing. So that goes back to, do you value yourself enough to know that even if you might have to walk out and leave, you're going to be okay. You're still valuable. You're still worthy, but you're not going to tolerate certain items that come along with things that he's doing. Because if he gets away with anything, if he keeps cheating over and over again, and then you keep taking him back, what is that telling him? Oh, she don't care. She don't care, right? I could do whatever I want, but that goes back to you valuing your own time, money, energy, and who you are as a woman, and even your body as well. But thinking about and reflecting on investing in yourself, do you value yourself, right? Because obviously you want somebody that's going to come in and invest in you, but they want to know what value are you bringing to the table, just like you want to know what value they are bringing to the table, right? Okay, then that brings me up to my E, right, which is my sixth reason in my word invest, right? So a man, in order for him to give the time, the money, the energy, the commitment, then he almost in a way needs to earn you, right? And I know that sounds kind of weird, but he needs to earn you. And what I mean by that is he, in a man's mind, he needs to know, right, that you believe that you are the prize, right? So let me say it again. He needs to know that you already know that you are the prize, so that when he is with you, he's getting a gift. So he better treat it properly or he will lose it. And that goes back to valuing yourself. That also goes to him earning you, right? When somebody gets a gift, it's usually because you're celebrating or you're giving something of value, right? And if you value yourself, like we just said, and he earns that, right? And I have another video on this. I think it's on my YouTube channel. If not, it's in my Facebook group. But anyway, a lot of women, when I talk about being the prize, they oftentimes will email me or comment and say, oh, girl, I need to work on that, right? Like, I need to work on it. And cool, trust me, I understand. I had a whole season where I had affirmations, and I would say that every day, like, I am the prize. I am the prize. I had multiple ones, but that was one of the main ones. And I mentioned this earlier, is how I have attracted to myself men who want to marry me. They want me to have their kids, right? They want to take care of me. And so much so that I'm like, okay, hold up. I'm going to need you to sit down. I need you to calm. I'm serious. I'm like, I'm going to need you to calm down. Like, give me a second to take this all in because you going quick, right? But again, that's because I know I'm the prize, right? And I teach my clients the same thing. That's how come I have clients who are now married. I have two that are now married, because it's turning that mindset that I am the prize, right? And if you want to be with this, you're going to have to earn. You're going to have to earn this, okay? Right? Because I value myself, right? I'm inner rich. And yes, I do want a husband. I do need a husband for X, Y, and Z. However, I am not tolerating X, Y, and Z. You are not the prize. You are not on the pedestal. And so often, especially when he's cute, he's talking a certain way, his sex game is this or that, we do what? We rise him up to a pedestal up here so that he becomes the prize. And then that's when we start to lose our value. We start becoming needy. That's when we're not in the rich anymore. And that kind of goes out the window, right? And he don't have to earn us. He can easily come back and do whatever he wants because we make him the prize instead of switching that around, right? And saying, so I am the prize, right? And it's easier said than done, but it can be done, right? Which is what I teach my clients, right? So again, that was the E. So the S in invest, and why a man may not want to invest the time, money, energy, and commitment is that perhaps when a man is with you, he does not feel safe. Right? And that can go both ways. And I mean, he doesn't feel safe to open up, to share his feelings, to share his vision, to share his future, right? So as women, we are more of the emotional, on the spectrum. We are more of the emotional, right? And we're more ones where you can share your feelings and things like that. And men, they deal with a lot of stuff out in the world, right? Because they're supposed to be the protectors, the providers, and all that. So even when they come home or when they talk to us as the woman, they want to be able to release, to let go, not be on edge, right? But he also wants to feel safe that he can trust you with his secrets, with his insecurities, with his weaknesses, with his vision, with his goals, with all the positive. But he has to feel like you are safe and like you are open, right? To being able to do that. And the same is true on his end. He also, in order for you to even commit to him, because remember, you the prize, you have to feel safe with him. And if you don't, that's a surefire way to know that he's not the one, he's not for me. You have to feel safe enough with him. So it goes both ways. But if y'all both are not coming to the table with the safety, eventually it's not going to work out in the way that you want. Because there has to be a safety, and there also has to be an openness, because y'all both need to come emotionally available, right? Bring that to the table. And in order to do that, you are going to have to feel secure within yourself, right? Which is actually going to bring me up to the T and invest, right? Which is trust, right? So some of the times when we are not getting the time commitment, the love, the energy that we so deeply desire and deserve, it's because we're not trusting ourselves. It's because we're not trusting God, and we're rushing the process because we so desperately want to get married, or we so desperately want X, Y, and Z, that we start giving him ultimatums, or we start dating people we really don't want to be with, but we don't want to be alone, right? Or I don't know, we start arguments with him because we don't trust him, or we don't trust ourselves. So we got to sabotage, or we got to come up with stuff on our end in order for us to feel better about ourselves temporarily in the moment, but then it doesn't work out the way we want it to work out. So again, the T is trust. So trust in him, trust in yourself, trust in God. Trust in God needs to be number one. Right? And that even goes back to surrendering to God and letting go. Letting go to the outcome, or wherever this little situationship or relationship is going to go. I surrender it. I'm not trying to control it. I'm not trying to force him to marry me. Because in the last year, people have told me how they like low key, like they kind of finesse the person to marry them. And I'm like, okay. I don't know about all that, but I mean, I guess, but I'm all about kind of leaning back, surrendering, trusting the process, trusting God, trusting myself that I'm making the right decisions. But also, if you're going to be with somebody, you also need to trust him, but he also needs to trust you. So often I feel like we talk about trust issues in terms of, the guy, right? We don't trust him. Guys are not loyal, blah, blah, blah. But also, what about us trusting ourselves? Like trusting that intuition, knowing when you see those red flags popping up, right? That he's not about to spend his money. He's not spending his time, energy, commitment, or none of that. He's not investing none of that into you. But again, we overlook things because the red flags are all over. But because we don't trust God, we don't trust ourselves, we overlook it. So we end up being with somebody for 3 years, but we should only been with him for 3 minutes, because we should have trusted and been so in alignment with our intuition that we could have peeped his game early on, right? And that's something I teach my clients in Powerfully Positioned Woman Academy. Like, how do you get so in tune into that intuition that you can peep what people, and that's not just men, that's what anybody is doing. Or even, what God is even trying to tell you. Like, how do you know the difference between when it's your ego and you versus when God is saying, oh, he's the one? How do you know the difference, right? And there's a way to tell that, right? And I learned that the hard way. But whatever. Good part is that I learned it. So again, 6 reasons why a man may not invest the time, money, energy, and commitment into you is, again, you must first go back and check yourself and see, what do you first need to invest in yourself, or you still need to, because I'm sure some of these you already have down, you've been working through it, I'm sure, but maybe some of them there's that you still might need to work on, because as I mentioned at the beginning, like attracts like. So you want to attract somebody back to yourself who's willing to invest in you. So like I said, we have our acronym, which is INVEST, which are our 6 reasons, right? So again, you need to check yourself and see, am I inner rich on the inside? Have I done the inner healing work necessary that I'm so rich on the inside, that I'm overflowing, I'm radiant, I'm magnetic, I'm beautiful? The N is focusing on needing a man versus being needy for a man. The third thing is valuing yourself, right? Not putting the value on him. The 4th thing is, does he have to earn you? Do you know you are a prize and that he has a special gift versus it being the other way around? You thinking he's the gift, he's God's gift to earth because he's so sexy and this and that. Probably not. Right? and then the next thing is, are you safe and open enough to be emotionally available that he can kind of come to you and feel open, and then vice versa, right? And then lastly is trust. Like, do you trust God enough to be on this journey, but be surrendered and be open, and be in a season where you're single, you're not talking to anybody, but you trust God that much that you know something amazing is about to come? Can you trust it enough? Or do you trust yourself enough, right, to be able to use your own discernment and intuition to realize, instead of you being with him for the next 5 months, you will only be with him for 5 minutes, because you're able to take note, observe the situation and see that he's not on the level that he needs to be on, right? You see them red flags like, okay, nope, I ain't going home with him. Nope, I ain't talking to him no more. Nope, let me text him. This is not a match. right? So again, think about those 6 different things as you continue on this journey. And as I invited you earlier, if you are interested in going deeper and doing this work, we are going to be doing a 5-day challenge, which is called Position to Be Found, how to prepare for your future husband, right? So we'll be going deeper into some of the things that I have mentioned here today. You are not going to want to miss out on this. Go to bit.ly/love unleashed, right? And you should see the link as well. In order for you to sign up and to join us, we begin on Valentine's Day, right? Because I'm assuming if you're joining, you are single, right? And that is a day, that should be all about you investing in you. So why not invest in you, right? And this is a free challenge, but invest in you because I will be sending out your first assignment. I will also be going live again through, from Valentine's Day for the whole couple of days. So that would be you investing in you, right? Because before we get to we got to focus on me. Right? So a lot of times we focus on position to be found, but what I'm really going to be teaching you is how to position yourself to focus on you and invest in you, right? So that you're attracting somebody to you who wants to invest their whole world into you because you're just that girl, right? You're the prize, right? And he got to win you over. So how does he come to the table ready to win you over? That means you show up fierce as shit. Right? You show up as the prize. You show up inner rich, like just dripping with the gold on the inside, that it just radiates on the outside, right? It's a beautiful, beautiful thing as a woman when you can do that. But you're more than capable of doing that. You just need to learn how to do it, and then you just need to go out there and do your thing. And I tell you, the blessings will come. The blessings will come. Okay. So I hope that you have enjoyed. If you're just joining, I ask that you go back through and you catch the entire replay or video. If you skip different parts, start from the beginning so you can hear what really inspired me to talk about this whole idea of investing in yourself, because investing in yourself is key on so many levels. And I will tell you, beyond just the 6 that I gave you, when I started investing in myself, not just professionally, which I had become accustomed to, but personally, that's when my entire life changed. And that's where I learned how to become inner rich. That's where I learned how to become a prize. It's by me investing financially, right, in myself personally, in coaching and programs and just things that helped me to grow beyond where I was, is what has helped me elevate myself to a new level, to a new season, to new blessings. Just so many amazing opportunities and things just have come into my life from just making even small investments into, even if it was as small as a $10 book or something of that nature. Just the knowledge that I've received and I've implemented and I've used to change my life has been amazing. So imagine what the challenge will do for you over the course of the 5 days in your life, right? So again, bit.ly/love unleashed. I hope that you have signed up and that you will join. If you have found something valuable, please make sure you leave me a comment. Then I will get a notification. And if you haven't already, please make sure you like me on YouTube at Unleash Your Fierce. You go to Facebook at Unleash Fierce, and you go to Instagram at Unleash Fierce, and make sure that you are following, liking, and subscribing so that you are getting these notifications and that you are learning and getting this information day by day. Okay, so I hope that you have enjoyed, and bye.